Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I get to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our communities. What did they do to get started, and what are they doing to stay there? And here we are. We're in season 3. We're in October, and I have an incredible guest today. I'm getting to talk to Daryl Williams. Daryl is an NFL athlete. He's an O-line specialist, a sports consultant, a trainer, and he does a whole lot more. And Daryl, I'm so excited to have you on the show. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on, Bruce.
Man, I tell you, we've known each other for a long time. I always like to reflect when we met. You played football with my son, Logan, and of course my nephews, Tyler and Josh. But Scott Head, we got to give him a shout out. He recently reconnected us and mentioned that you got some big news coming up. So shout out to Scott Head.
Shout out to Coach Head, man. He's we've known him for a long time.
He's a good guy.
Good dude.
Well, and I'm really excited to talk to you, Daryl. For those listening, you're going to be really excited about this leadership podcast. Daryl played high school football in Lake Dallas, played for the Falcons, and then he went on to play at the University of Oklahoma. And then he went on to a great professional career for both Carolina and Buffalo. And here he is today, getting ready for a new venture. And so I guess you are now officially retired, or are you pausing right now, Daryl?
I'm officially retired. Going back and forth with my wife and just waiting, playing the waiting game and just trying to find the right fit. We just decided to retire. And so now I have started my own company, my own LLC called Mobb Academy. Follow me on Instagram at Mobb Academy. I'm training kids or anybody of all ages that in O-line. It's hard to do that in this area, or hard to get a coach in this area, that trains offensive linemen. So I thought it was a good idea, just to get out there and give it a shot, start my own business, spread my NFL and collegiate knowledge to these kids or even people that are in the NFL. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
That's very exciting. I got to tell you, we always talk about finding your lane. There's different lanes in different seasons, right? Here you are playing football. You were in your lane, had an incredible career, and now here you are moving to your next season of life. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited for everybody to hear what's going on. But I would like to talk to you a little bit about kind of what's brought you to this point for people listening and of course, people watching that don't know Daryl Williams. I'd love for them to hear the Daryl Williams story. Like, where did you grow up? And, tell me about kind of the path of your football career and what's led you to where you are today.
So I was thinking about this the other day too. And I was like, hey, man, how did I start playing football? I was at Lake Dallas Middle School in 7th grade. I was known to just be a basketball player. And all the coaches, like Coach Hare, Coach Davis, and if I'm forgetting anybody, please excuse me, but they were like, hey, we want you to play football. Because at the time I was a kid with size. I wasn't the biggest, but I still had size on me. And I didn't grow up watching football. I didn't know anything about football. So I was like, I'm not playing football. I don't care about football. So the next year, going into 8th grade, my older brother, Michael Williams, shout out to my brother Mike, follow him on Instagram. He was like, hey, I'm going to play football because, the coaches have been wanting him to play football too. So at that time, since I was little, I followed my brother. I did everything my brother did. I looked up to my brother. I was right behind him all the time. If we got in trouble, I was hiding behind him. Anything he did, if he jumped off the cliff, I'm jumping with him. You know what I mean? So he was like, hey, I'm playing football. The coaches want me to play too. And he was in high school at the time. I think he was a sophomore. And so I was like, hey, I might as well give it a try too. My brother's doing it. The coaches have been telling me I should play. Let's do it. So 8th grade, I had no clue what I was doing. And that's what I'm saying. If I'm starting this company, this business, because I can train 8th graders or kids that are in 4th grade or whatever and teach them and let them know, this is how it's supposed to be done so they can be better. If I had some knowledge in 8th grade on how to play offensive tackle, I would be, the sky would have been the limit at the time. So I was eventually just lucky to just be out there and be decent or good enough or blessed enough to play offensive tackle. I didn't even know what I was doing. And when the coach told me I was doing a good job, I was like, okay, I don't know, you know? So, yeah, it started out in 8th grade, didn't know what I was doing. I made the A team. I was starting right tackle, and it went from there. Freshman year, went to high school. Freshman A team, I played with James Franklin, Drew Hamilton, Josh Talefa. Shout out to my boy, Joey Maggio. He's a chef in California and LA. And then I got to my sophomore year, and I wasn't quite on varsity yet because I was really skinny. I was really skinny, but I was very athletic. And, Coach Smith, he was my offensive line coach at the time. And him and Coach Young, shout out to Coach Young, were just telling me, hey, put on some weight and you'll easily be on varsity. So, I mean, I didn't really know. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything. And I didn't really take that seriously, but I wanted to be on varsity a lot. And so I think the opportunity presented itself. Someone got hurt or they might have failed or something. And then they elevated me and I started my first game. I think it was the 5th game of the season at right tackle. I think we were playing McKinney Boyd, I believe. And oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I don't even know if anybody could tell. I was so nervous, man, so nervous. But I ended up playing very well for 5 straight games. That's kind of how my lane started. But I love the journey that football has taken me on, because my sophomore year, I wasn't tough enough. So my coaches like Coach Caldwell, Coach Mills, Coach Young, all of them, they were kind of mentors to me in my life, like at the time with football, like, hey, you need to do this, or you need to fight through it, or, this and that. So shout out to those guys, because again, I didn't know what I was doing. And sophomore year was kind of good, but it was like a roller coaster. But when I went into my junior year, the confidence was through the roof. I kind of knew what I was doing. I had gotten stronger. I was just motivated. You know what I mean? And the coaches kept me motivated. So, and I believe I got my first scholarship to Texas Tech. I want to say it was in the spring of my junior year. And Coach Head came in the locker room. I didn't even know what was going on. He handed it to me. I didn't even know what a scholarship was. People were telling me, oh, you got a full ride to Texas Tech. I was like, I don't know what that means. Took it home to my mom. She was very excited. And it just went from there. Scholarships just kept coming. And I just kept getting better and better.
So you got, of course, you got these scholarship offers coming in. And so now all of a sudden your confidence is going up and you're probably getting pretty excited during that time. One of the questions I do want to ask you, though, is, we're talking about leadership, and leadership is about a lot of different things. But one of the things is influence, right? Influence. And a lot of people are wondering, like, how do people develop influence in the workplace? So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, you've had these tremendous high school coaches, but now here you are being recruited. And so there's probably a lot of very influential recruiters wanting you to come to school there. What was it about, let's just say, Oklahoma? And maybe there's some other recruiters, though. What were some of the traits they had that really influenced you to want to go to Oklahoma, or maybe consider other schools too?
It was really one person and another variable, but it was Coach Stoops. Coach Stoops, he's a great man. He's a great man of character. He came to the high school, met me. He came to my mom's house. My mom cooked him spaghetti. I think he still remembers the story, but we were eating spaghetti with Coach Stoops at my house. So I was like, okay, cool. That's cool. And again, I didn't know anything about scholarships or even college football at the time. And so I was finally about to start taking my official visits. And my first official visit was Oklahoma. Me and my mom, and we drove up there. It's only 2 hours and a half away. And we just had a good time up there. They treated us very well. But the one thing that happened that made me really change my mind is Coach Stoops brought me and my family into his office. He showed me and he does this with everybody, but still, it's amazing. Showed us all his Big 12 rings, his national championship rings, the trophies, everything. I mean, Oklahoma is a very prestigious school. So I was like, man, I'm blown away. I think I had taken a visit to TCU before, and I really love TCU with Coach Patterson. He had invited me into his office too and really wanted me to commit. But when I took that visit to Oklahoma, man, I was blown away. And then I had met some the other guys that just had committed as well. My guy
Yeah.
Tyrus Thompson,
Mm.
you know, he was going to play left tackle in the future. I think Austin Woods, he was going to be a center. Bronson Irvin was going to be right guard. And I think Adam Shedd was going to be left guard. So that just left me to play right tackle. And then we had an awesome quarterback coming in named Blake Bell. And so they were like, yeah, Daryl, you're just a missing piece.
Man, I tell you, I absolutely love that. So he basically came in and said, here's what life is going to be like if you come play here. He made you feel like family. I love that. And by the way, Coach Stoops was on the show, episode 72. People can go back and listen to my amazing conversation. He's an incredible leader. So I can see why you said that, but you've already talked about a couple of things, because here you are, you're getting ready to go into your own, your next career, your own business. And you're not talking about X and O's. You're talking about, hey, I want to train people because this is what this journey has done for me. I want other people to experience that. And now here you are around influential people like Coach Stoops and some of the O-line that you talked about. And those guys, like, they make you feel like family. So all of a sudden now you're like, hey, you know what? I can not only teach people the X's and O's, the skills, but also just the journey of life. Hey, I want to ask you about a couple of other things. You know, you talked about some of your team members at Oklahoma. I would love to hear at the professional level, team members. Was it pretty much the same as it was college, or was it any different? I was just curious if you had any different experiences. What makes a good team member?
Well, first of all, it's totally different from college to the NFL. The NFL is just straight business, and you're dealing with grown men that want to make a lot of money and want to win Super Bowls and stuff like that. So when I walked in to the Panthers my rookie year, yeah, I was around grown men. I'm not talking about like 25 years. I was talking about 30 years and up. Like, people were like 34 and playing at high levels. And I had just walked in when they were like, hey, we have a great team now and we need to win the Super Bowl. And Daryl, we need you. So I was coming in, like, my coach, he was an old coach, very technical, one of the best O-line coaches in the league to this day. And I think we were doing physicals, and he snatched me right up, took me upstairs, and we watched my last game as a senior. It was a bowl game against Clemson, and he was going in on me, telling me I was lazy, my technique was bad, my stance was terrible. So it wasn't like a cakewalk for me. Like, these guys, they needed me to get better, and they were expecting me to get better, and they were expecting me to perform like I was supposed to perform. So I had to mature very quickly in the NFL.
I find that very interesting too, because, you know, a lot of times if we want to be better, we need people to challenge us, right? But we also have to be open to being challenged, right? You can't just, you know, somebody challenge you, Daryl, and then all of a sudden you're like, what are you talking about, man? I'm a fourth round pick here. You were open to being challenged to get better, right?
Exactly. And my coach, and again, my old coach in the NFL, Coach Matsko, he called me one time. He was like, you don't understand, but it's humility. You need to have humility to be in this league. And from that day, I took that and ran with it. Cause, like, you're telling, like, I found my lane with football. I was like, okay, you know, this is what I'm supposed to do in life. I'm the man, you know what I mean? Especially through high school. And then when I got to college, I was very comfortable and kind of cocky, you know? But then when I got to the NFL, my coach taught me about humility. I'm like, he's right. And this is truly who I am, but I kind of lost my path. And finding him was a blessing. You know, he humbled me. And just being in the NFL is very humbling, because everyone's great. Everyone's on an amazing level. So humility was big for my journey.
Humility is a big word. I appreciate you sharing that. I know there's people right now listening to the podcast. They're taking notes. I want to ask you, though, culture is also a big deal, right? I mean, you get to Oklahoma and you told me that, hey, I went in Coach Stoops' office. He's got all these national championships. They got an incredible culture there. Then all of a sudden you go to the Panthers and they're expecting to win a Super Bowl. Then you go to the Buffalo Bills, and I think they probably have that same mindset. Talk about the different, like, were all the cultures similar, or were they different? When it comes to even Oklahoma, Buffalo, Carolina? What were your thoughts around different culture?
I think the only similarity was a sense of family.
Mm.
Coach Rivera and Sean, they taught both, everybody needs to be together. Everybody needs to hold each other accountable. But the difference I would say with the Panthers is, again, there was a lot of grown men in there at the
Mm.
time. I was 21, 22, and these guys were not playing around. It was serious. It was like bring your business suit every day, very serious. We're not playing around, especially not with me because I'm a rookie. So
Mm.
as a rookie, all eyes are on you. But
Mm.
with Buffalo, I felt like I could be more myself. My personality came out a lot more with Buffalo, but it was still business. It was still serious. It was still, hey, we're trying to win a Super Bowl as well. We have the tools. We got to get active. You know what I mean?
I want to ask you a question. I mean, we're sitting here. You've had a lot of success, Daryl. Tremendous success. It's been so fun to watch your journey from front and center right here in Lake Dallas. But I want to talk to you about failure for a second. One of the things I was reading was that you back in 2018 you injured. I think you dislocated maybe your right knee and tore your MCLs. Anyway, you got hurt, right? You got injured. And a lot of times we learn from failure. I'm just curious if you could talk to our audience about failure and the importance of responding to failure. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on failure.
So yeah, that happened in my fourth year. I was just coming off the best year of my NFL career. I had made second team All Pro. I was feeling myself. I was ready to. I wanted to, and I had a goal for myself. I was like, I wanted to be the number one right tackle in my fourth year, and I was in contract negotiations too. So I had a big contract opportunity on the table, ready to sign. But me and my agent, shout out to my agent Chaffin Fields, but we were like, hey, if you ball out one more year, you can get almost twice as much as this. So I was like, and I was very confident. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So on the second day, or I think it was the third day of practice, it was our first full padded practice. I think we had like literally 10 minutes left in practice. I'm just doing my thing. I'm taking a kick set. And I think two guys end up bull rushing me. I don't know how. And I guess my foot just got stuck awkwardly, and I ended up dislocating my knee. And watching the film, it was just like, dang, that just happened out of nowhere. So I'm still determined. I'm like, okay, the doctor says you can either get season ending surgery, or you can come back in 6 to 8 weeks, do treatment in 6 to 8 weeks and come back and play. So I was like, on my mind, I want the contract. I think I can do it, So I did the treatment for 6 to 8 weeks, went hard with physical therapy, came back, first game against the Cowboys. We get to the fourth quarter. I believe it was only 8 minutes left. And somebody throws DeMarcus Lawrence into the same knee.
Oh,
On the side of my knee, too, on the same knee. His helmet literally spears my knee. And I had a knee brace on, and I went down, and I ended up blowing up my knee. So I was out for the rest of the season. So, but to me, that wasn't the ultimate failure. My next year, my fifth year, was the ultimate failure.
mm.
I was still expecting to get a big contract going into free agency, but I didn't. I guess people were nervous with my injury, didn't think I was healthy. So I was luckily signed back with Carolina. Little did I know they wanted me to play left tackle. I had no clue they wanted me to play left tackle. When my coach told me, my heart sank. I was like, dang. But I'm gonna do everything in my power to make this work, because he believed in me. Everybody believed in me. But man, it didn't work. So that was my ultimate failure. It was a tough year on me and my wife. I was having the worst year of my career. My wife was pregnant. So shout out to my wife, Amber. I love you, baby. But she was pregnant. And so I was going through the worst year of my career. So I wasn't really giving her the attention that she needed, because I was depressed. I was very depressed. I was very, just in my own way. So that was the ultimate failure for me. And again, it humbled me. It humbled me with my wife. It humbled me in life. It humbled me with football. And that I say that was the ultimate failure for me.
I love when people talk about failure because there's always something better on the other side of failure. We grow so much through failure. You just talked about, the humility that helped you in failure. I love, by the way, you said a word that was one of my favorite words. And I want to touch on this for a second. You used the word belief. And I've heard you use this a couple of times. People believed in you. How important is it for people to be believed in? Your thoughts?
It's very important. I say everybody wants to be loved. Everyone wants to, again, have that belief or someone to believe in them. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because you don't truly see who you are for yourself. Other people can see the potential that you have, or the type of person that you are, or the things that you can actually do, more than you're doing now. So, and again, and I was just thinking about this the other day. My coach Matsko, love him to death, man. Hard coach, but he always believed in me, and
mm,
it motivated me so much, man. Like, and I always tell my wife this story, but I think it was like Michael Orr had got hurt. It was in my second year, so I had to step up and play on a flip of a switch for him. And I didn't consider myself as a starter. I didn't. But it was like after the third or fourth game, I had been playing decent or good enough. And it was after a practice, I had messed up a play. But my coach had pulled me aside. He was like, Daryl, you should have picked up that. You should have, blocked that the right way. But hey, you are a starter in this league. He looked me
mm,
dead in my eyes. You are a starter in this league. You are a great player. Now go be it. I believe
mm,
in you.
mm,
And that was it.
mm.
That took me off. And I was like, wow. And he just believed in me.
I love that, man. That's like right now, Daryl, I have chills. You talking about belief, man, because people believed in me. And I remember what that felt like. So it doesn't matter if it's in athletics or in the workplace. Belief is special, and I want people to hear what you're saying. And I know people are writing down things right now because great leaders believe in people. They just do. And I just love that. Hey, I want to talk about your next, but before we do that, I want to ask you one more question. I'm big on personal and professional growth. I think you know when we want more, we have to become more, right? And one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, so you're playing football, and I know in your mind that okay, in football you only played to a certain amount of years. Was there anything that you did or were doing or are doing now that is helping you become more so that you can be better in your next as a O-line specialist, as a business leader? I'm just curious, do you do anything to grow in your career?
Yeah, right now I'm doing a lot of research. I know I have my knowledge of the NFL and college of how to be an offensive line, but reaching out to my peers, doing research. I know this sounds crazy, but YouTube and Instagram, just seeing other people with their offensive line businesses, learning new techniques and new drills so I can teach these kids. Just always expanding my knowledge. You
Mm,
you always think I was taught this in the NFL too. Just because you're 10 years in, there's always something new you can learn.
mm, mm.
Always something new you can learn. So as I do this business, I'm always gonna try to do new things, and teach these kids new things.
That's fantastic. I love that. Because that tells me, you're a continuous learner. And we just are like, you never know everything. You just keep learning, keep growing, because the more that we learn, the more that we can share with others. Right. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about your next role. Here you are, like, okay, you just had this incredible college and NFL career, and now you're in the business world. Is that, hey, how is that right now? Is that scary to you? Are you excited? What are your emotions like right now?
I'm very excited and motivated. I'm like, wow. Right now I'm on a high, and this is what I always wanted to do after my last year. So hopefully we can keep it rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about Trench Mobb Academy. That's with two B's. I'm going to put all the Instagram, all the places you can connect with Daryl in the show notes. And you're going to be training and kids and people of all ages. I think you're working with your trainer, Roman Mitchell. Is that right?
Yes, follow him on Instagram, Neuraletics LLC. Man, he is an amazing trainer, man. He is in Denton County, and he is absolutely destroying
That's
me.
fantastic. I love that. Hey, well, let me ask you this: for people who are listening who want to get better, right, as an athlete, in particular in football for O line, what is share a couple of things that you're hoping to teach them if they are to reach out and connect with you? How can you? What are some things that you can help them with?
I thought about that, and I honestly, I just want to be a good example to them of how to be a good family man first,
Mm,
just a good man of character first. I want to, for them to trust me, to show them, this is who I am. This is real. I'm not trying to get over on you. I'm trying to help you guys out, and life is bigger than football. So I wanna show them that I'm a man of character, of God, and of my family. I really take being a husband, a father very seriously. Shout out to my wife again. We have another baby on the way.
hey, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
a daughter. Yeah, a daughter. Shout out to Daryl Lily Williams, and shout out to my son Adonis Williams, man. So I take being a father and a husband very seriously. So outside of football, I want to show them, I want to be a great man of character to these kids or anybody else.
I love that. So for those listening and they say, hey, I've got a kid, in junior high that I want to go ahead and get started. What does that look like? Can you kind of frame that up? Do they, will they come train with you once a week? Would it be once a month? Or is it one of those things where you need to talk to them and kind of do an assessment to figure out what they need? Give them your thoughts on that.
No, I take everybody, man. There's no assessment. I'm here to train offensive linemen of all ages, and I'm here for the customer. You know what I mean? If you want to train with me once a week, twice a week, or if you want to set up kind of like a subscription, we can do whatever, man. I'm here for you guys to train and to get you guys better.
Love that. You mentioned earlier that, and do some research on videos. By the way, I do the same thing. I think we all do now, right?
Yeah.
Um, is that part of it, like, or is it all like outdoor? Hey, I'm gonna teach you certain ways to do certain skill sets, or is it a little bit of everything? Like, will you do any video with them? Will they do any like? And I'm just sitting here thinking out loud, like, if I got a son that's going to go and learn to be an offensive lineman, what all are some of the things I could expect being part of that academy?
So number one is definitely the training. It's hard for offensive linemen to get training in the off season because first we need to punch somebody, we need to put hands on somebody, and that's nothing. That's nothing normal you do in this world. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
just getting them out here, and working with them. And two, I'm very open to come to the games and watch the kids play or whoever it is to play.
Mm,
I've already got some parents asking me to come to the game. I just got to make time for that.
mm,
And three, definitely, I mean, if they have film, I could
mm,
definitely sit down with them and watch film.
mm,
I did this with my friend. You may know him, Shagun.
mm.
Shagun.
Yep.
He plays at Charleston State. He plays defensive end. So
Okay.
for the last 2 years, I've been working with him. And sometimes he would come over my house and we would just watch film, and I would go through, what he needs to do better, or what's good and stuff like that. So if people want me to watch film on their kids or whoever it is, I'm open to it, and I will definitely make it happen.
I love that. As I sit here and talk to you, Daryl, and I've known you for a long time, and so I can certainly validate everything you're wanting to teach. But I love how you want to teach them to be a better football player, a better offensive lineman, of course. But I love how you put in there. I want to really build trust. And when I hear trust, I hear building relationships. I don't want this to be a transaction. I'm here to build a relationship. I want to make sure that I'm building young men of character. And I just love that about you and what you're about to do.
Thank you very much. You put it perfectly. That's exactly what I want to do.
Hey, and then the training, I guess, is that in Denton? Is that in Lake Dallas? Where's that at? Or is that just in Lake City's North Dallas area?
Well, right now. I'm based off. I live in Little Elm, and I have a big backyard, and I have football turf in my backyard. So that's why I've been doing my training sessions so far. But once the season ends, I don't. Coach Head has given me the okay to train at the high school and stuff like that, kids. So I mean, we can do whatever. If people want me to come to them or whatever, we can get it in wherever. It doesn't matter. So, but I'm looking to train definitely in Denton County, Frisco, the Frisco area, anywhere, man. Y'all just hit me up.
I'm excited about that. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here thinking, man, we need to do a podcast from your backyard or one of your training grounds one day.
I was thinking
that would be absolutely fantastic. I love that. Hey, well, let me shift to a couple of things as we kind of start to kind of wrap things up. You ever been given? I always like to ask this question to my guests on the show. I always like to ask, have you ever been given any advice? It just was so good, you just find yourself thinking about that or sharing with others?
Okay, so obviously I say the first one is never quit. I'll also say again, I think we talked about this earlier, you can always do more than what you think your limits are. Mm-hmm. And then again, stay humble. And I learned this too, always be yourself. That's one thing. If I go back in the NFL, I would want to be myself a lot more. Oh. And then I would say pain is temporary. Pain is temporary. Like I'm sitting here taking notes, man. I'm writing this down. I'm putting it on a sticky. You know, when you talked about limiting mindset, you can always do more. I actually had Russell Wilson's brother on the podcast, Harry Wilson. Nice. And that guy's fantastic. He is the CEO and founder of Limitless Minds, one of the co-founders. Wow. And he always talked about that as well. How mindset is so important. Mindset's important in football for sure, right? Man, and that's why, definitely in football, but that's why I like Roman Mitchell. I always complain with him whenever we do workouts, but he's always pushing me. He doesn't care. He's like, no, you can do this. You can do this, bro. You got this. You can do it. So, man, he's turning me. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. And he's definitely pushing your mind, your limits of the mind with me or anybody he trains every day. That's fantastic. I love that. I told you the time was going to fly. We could do this for hours. We're gonna wrap up the show here. I always call it time to accelerate. I like to ask you a few fun questions. I mean, I'm always curious. Like for you, do you read books or would you rather listen to a podcast? Definitely podcasts. Hey, I know we're coming up on the month of Thanksgiving, November, and then of course Christmas. I always like to ask my guests during this time, especially, what are you grateful for? What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for God. I'm grateful for my life with my family, with Amber and my son, and my daughter coming up. I'm just thankful for my life. I love, like, this life is taken for granted. It's hard, but like I have a beautiful family. I have beautiful brothers and sisters. My mom, people that I know, my brothers. Like my boy Blaine, Joey Maggio, like. I don't ever want to lose, I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose people that I care about or vice versa, so that's what I'm thankful for. In my latest book, I say great leaders are grateful leaders. And I could just feel your gratitude as you're sharing that. I love that. One of the questions I did want to ask you before the end of the show was, of course, we talked about, your career, and we talked about, team members you played with. We talked about some of the coaches that have impacted your life. I was just curious if there was like a game or two that stood out. I mean, of course, you got to play in the Super Bowl. I would think that might be one of those. Any games that just kind of stood out that you're like, man, that was just magical? Maybe one college and one pro. Okay, college, it was definitely the Sugar Bowl against Alabama that year. Yes. That was pretty magical. Everybody didn't think we were going to win, and we ended up having one of the best games of our lives. I think was that Trevor Knight, who was quarterback? Trevor Knight. Just incredible. Shout out to Trevor Knight. He listens to the podcast as well. He lives here in Dallas. Shout out to Trevor, man. And then for the NFL, I think it was the last game that I played in. It was the playoff game against the Chiefs, man.
Oh man,
That was an amazing game.
yeah, I remember we watched you. We stopped the recording when you recovered that fumble ball. That was fantastic.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh man, hey, I would be remiss if we didn't say one high school game that maybe you remember as well, because you played on an incredible district championship team. You've given a shout out to a lot of the players and coaches. Was there one game that stood out for you? You had a pretty good team.
Yeah, I think it was my junior year. We were playing Denton Ryan for the first time at home, and I had a nice, really crackback block on a defensive tackle. Coach Head and Young and them still talk about it to this day, man. It would probably be illegal now what I did, but they still talk about it till this day. But yeah, man, high school was probably the funnest years for football for me.
Well, I got to give a shout out to Tracy Cade. Of course, me and Tracy did the broadcast, and he always talks about the interview that he had with you up in the broadcast booth and how much fun that was for him. And so definitely a shout out. Hey, I want to ask you one last question as we get ready to wrap up the show. This is probably one of my favorite questions, Daryl. And the question is, Daryl, 10 years older, he's knocking at your front door and you're going to go answer that door. What's he going to tell you?
Just keep doing what you're doing, man.
Mm.
I'm not gonna say I don't want to change anything. Like I'm happy with my life. Like there's nothing for me to tell me now. You know, I'm happy. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Daryl, you're definitely driving in the leadership lane, my friend. I cannot wait to see like what's ahead for you in Trench Mobb Academy and all the like impact you're going to make on these young men in football and really in all areas of life. And I just love everything you're doing. I'm going to put all of the links that we talked about in the show notes so people can tap into that and they can connect with you so they can get connected and learn more about what you're doing and become part of your journey as well. And so for that, I say thank you so much. And of course, thank you for your friendship.
Thank you, Bruce. This was amazing, man. Thank you again.
Awesome. I can't wait to share this. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Bruce.